Okay, here we are, and back Monday. We start another week, the last full week in October. We have a very busy program tonight. We have a lot of very serious things to discuss. I'm very honored to have the pleasure of your intellectual company, and I hope most of you are there as I am here trying to do the right thing. We have Gary Holland with us this first hour tonight. Gary has contributed magnificently and mightily to our understanding of Las Vegas, how critical its financial health is, and how important it is that nothing like this ever have happened in that town, and so much more. Gary, welcome back to the program.
Hey, how's it going tonight, Jeff?
It's been a real struggle on many fronts. Having been the best professional journalist I can be for over 35 years, I am not happy with what I see on the internet. Maybe I better say something here. And I'm going to say this not just for me. I'm not here sitting on an ego platform. I'm going to say this on behalf of the dead, the wounded, and their families. And let me say I have never been more ashamed or repulsed by the subhuman dirt and garbage who are saying some of the most insane things about the Las Vegas massacre I could imagine. Things like there were no bullets fired. They were all blanks or sound effects, recordings played through the PA system. And that there were no people shot, wounded, maimed, killed, or mentally and emotionally destroyed for life in that genocidal slaughter that the world witnessed and that we have enormous video of. That those who push grotesque lies, that this whole horror was nothing more than a TV-style production with crisis actors and sound effects and fake blood and so on. And for all of the imbeciles and morons who are calling for photos of the dead bodies, where are the bodies? When there is the most graphic video of dead and dying young people all over the net at the concert to be seen anytime you want to click and view it. And for all of the intel agents and disinformation assets and hustlers and ego trippers who are pushing these agenda items to make a buck or promote themselves and their sites and their shows, or who are slipping into dementia or Alzheimer's. I wish to state, let me sum it up, on behalf of all the victims and their loved ones, may all of those subhuman dirtbags, disinformation agents, and others, and the purely mentally infirm who are not able to see the truth of human anguish and death right in front of their eyes, may all of you go straight to hell, the fires of hell, forever. And think about it a little bit more. Now, I'm not saying that strictly for myself. I'm saying that on behalf of those who have been made to suffer even more by the inanity and stupidity and disgusting ignorance of some people who have microphones and modems and alleged talk shows. I don't have all the answers, but I have a hell of a lot of questions, and I'm not afraid to ask them. And I hope that sums it up. So, Gary, we have more videos. I've just added two more videos to the top section at the home page under Live Fire. Look green, you'll see it. Green writing, Live Fire videos. There are two of them there. One of them has the audio, you can hear it, and I put the time in there, time marks, 301, 302, of two, not one, two ricocheting bullets off the concrete ground. And then there's another video in which that infamous group of stoners vaping and whatever else they were on, LSD, who knows, are standing there in the midst of this shooting and not moving much when a round hits the ground right near them and they practically jump out of their shoes. You can see the round hit, you can see the spray of the concrete, and they move quickly. So more evidence. The evidence is overwhelming. So what we want to do is, let's start with some of the technical aspects, Gary. I want to get your take on this. Gary Holland, by the way, if you don't know, former U.S. Marine, tour in the Middle East, a tour in Somalia, Mogadishu. He understands things that most of us couldn't even dream about, and he has been with us through this whole thing. And the idea, first off, Gary, that gunshots are played through the loudspeakers, and the people that do the analysis of those recordings say, all the audio is equalized, all the gunshots have the same basic signature, the same audio profile. Well, they're too stupid to figure out why that is. You want to tell them?
Yeah. First of all, what I want to explain to people is why I present. We've been talking over the past week and this show too. Just a quick thing: why I present my material as a theory, an opinion, because that's what it is. One, I was not a first-hand witness. Neither of us were.
That's
Two,
right.
I am not part of any investigation that would give me access to physical evidence or actual crime scenes. Three, I'm not a shadow government insider who has a direct knowledge of how the operation was planned or carried out. That's why I always present my material as an opinion. If anybody who makes statements that their info is 100% true and everyone else is wrong is either being disingenuous or they're truly part of the same system that planned the operation, presenting the real truth, or as part of the system, which is the other part of purposely passing disinformation.
Correct.
The fact of the matter is, I've heard theories that it was surround sound is why it sounded so great. Well, first of all, let me explain how surround sound works in a movie theater. You need four walls in an enclosed area for surround sound to work. Try to see if you go to a drive-in movie theater, which I live right down the street from one, and see if you can get surround sound. You don't. Because at a drive-in movie theater, they have you running through your car radio.
Yeah.
Because if they try to use a PA in a drive-in movie theater, and I'm talking single-screen movie playing, not because there's three other movies. I'm talking about just one single screen playing. It sounds ridiculous. It's weird sounding. It's distorted, and you can't really understand what it's saying. Mm-hmm. Second of all, I've heard. I'm not naming names because I don't do that because it makes bad radio. First of all, when you start shooting against other people, especially on whatever, it just really makes bad radio. It just really does.
One of the first things I learned as a professional, Gary, is you do not name names of colleagues or other people in the business. You have something to say, there are many other ways to say it.
Yeah, if it's a silly radio show like Howard Stern, that was his shtick in the 90s. In the late 80s and the 90s. He used to attack. Well, that was part of his shtick. But, it's now when you're doing serious radio as a serious person, it just makes really bad radio. And believe me, I've been at radio stations, and I've told you this, off air, where I've been at radio stations. Some of the people that I worked for. Right. And where one host on the same station was just bad-mouthing the next host, and he was the lead into the next host. It just didn't make no sense. But, I just want to clear the air on that right there, because it just really does make bad radio. It just makes you, the person throwing the insults, makes them sound petty, and that you had something to hide. To me, that's what it seems. But also, I was listening to a program where they said the guy was on there presenting himself as an expert, okay? And he goes, I did the sound waves, and he said, how I know it was now he was going off just 5 phone videos now. We're talking cell phone video. Right. All the sound waves were evenly the same. Well, yes, it would be, because let me explain how cell phones work.
All cell phones, all smartphones. Now listen carefully. Yep. This is key. This blows their little argument right out of the water.
When you're recording on a cell phone, on a smartphone, on the video capture on your smartphone, what it does is automatically compresses the video and the audio. Why it does that? Because first of all, it's for storage restrictions on your phone, because you only get so much storage. And I'm even talking if you even get the micro SD card up to 128 gig, video compresses itself, and what it does is it compresses the audio. Now, when I worked on radio, it wasn't just that I was producing shows. One of the other things I did a lot was edit, produce, and create commercials. And if anyone knows some of these audio systems that, that audio cut and these different ones that we use in the radio business, one of the things you do when someone records a commercial is you go in and you compress it. And also what you do is you smooth out the audio waves, meaning when you hear a commercial on a radio station on air and you hear it sounds so perfect, clear, crisp, there's a reason why, because it's been edited and it's been audio cutted, which means that you smooth the audio out. And then if you look at sound waves, even because you look at when you're doing the editing on a commercial or you're in the studio, you actually see the sound waves. And what you do is you actually compress them. So that's what the video of a phone does. It automatically compresses. So obviously, if you're going to do any type of analysis on video, on audio waves from a cell phone, they're all going to be flat because they're all going to be even. They're all going to be sounding the same. They're all going to look the same because that's what the phone's supposed to do.
It's a tainted sample. You cannot get an accurate, honest read of the original sound of the audio on any recording media, any digital media that was at the concert. It can't happen. Can't happen. They're all going to sound exactly as Gary has described.
The only way you would have been able to measure that is if you were actually there on the scene recording basically sampling and testing the raw audio as it was happening in real time basically be there on the scene.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
So, so you can't, what I don't like is when, it's not like, I can understand someone's presenting as, well, this is my theory and opinion. Like I just told you, that's why everything I say is theory and opinion. But some of these people are presenting it as actual fact.
They do. This is it.
We have the evidence.
That's it.
This is proven without a shadow of a doubt. This is facts. You can never do that because, like I said, you're not a first-hand witness. You're not getting access to physical evidence. You're not there on an actual crime scene. Now maybe the third one might fit you. And the third thing in my list where I said, you're a disinfo agent or some type of disinfo, or you have some inside knowledge and you're part of the system of the same people who created the actual op itself.
Exactly.
And then you also get to sit back and say to yourself, why would it make any sense? First of all, why? These people are people, by the way, who go drone strike other countries and kill millions without blinking an eye. They'll starve people to death through years and years of sanctions and flight operations where they don't even let even one food truck into the country. They starve hundreds and thousands and millions of people to death. Why would they go through all the trouble and all the expense, and then, by the way, use Craigslist to hire actors and try to keep it a secret?
Right.
Sometimes you just got to use, like I said, the old acronym, KISS, keep it simple, stupid. You got to use that acronym sometimes because some things you got to sit back and say, wow, does that make sense? Why would you use actors, spend all that money? So basically what you're saying is you're saying the people that think of these operations are kind-hearted and don't like killing people. That's what you're saying. Because when you're saying that they're willing to go through all the trouble to not make sure anyone gets killed or hurt, right, using fake actors, fake blood, big speakers on buildings, whatever the way you try to say happened, big movie production, you're basically saying the people who are planning all this are really nice people. Because they don't want to kill anybody. They want to make sure no one's been physically harmed. They just want to present something that makes it look like it was. So you're basically saying that these people are kind-hearted people.
Right. Yeah.
These people don't care. These people, that's the you understand. These people don't care who they kill.
No, they're psychopaths. Absolute psychopaths. Yeah. The world, unfortunately, is crawling with them. That's not to say that there aren't drills that do hire people through Craigslist, actors and medics and firefighters and police that do participate in drills, that's how they train. This wasn't a training.
No, and plus you have a Sandy Hook I could understand. That's a closed environment. That's basically a very closed environment where they control everything. You control the interior of the building. You control the exterior.
Total narrative control. Absolutely.
You can control. You have 100% control. But when you're in a big public setting, for instance, like this in Las Vegas, you can't control the environment. Even there's no way to control it. So something like that would come out right away as being a fake. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
It would just come out as being a fake. So, to me, it's just, sometimes it takes away the attention for where the eyes should be. It's like one of them Chris Angel
misdirection. Yeah, you got
misdirection. It is. So, and also there's this big rumor has been going around where, again, treated as factual information. So there's been this thing where they missed 3 hospitals. They were the closest hospitals. They even said there was a drill, blah, blah, blah. Okay, I'm going to go through the names right now.
All right, hold on. What Gary is about to address is another one of the arguments by the lunatic fringe that there were no casualties. What did they do? They called 3 close hospitals. And what did they get? The hospitals have all been told, lockdown. Don't talk about this to anyone. Say no comment, nothing happened, whatever you want. You do not discuss this. That's first. Second is a bigger issue. Go ahead, Gary.
Yeah, actually, and also they made a statement that they said one of the hospitals they called said, "Oh, that's the drill you're talking about. Oh, we already know about that. No, we have nobody from there," and that's what was stated. Now, I'm going to list the 3 names that were given, and it's been circulating all over the internet. First of all, North Vista Hospital as being close to Mandalay Bay. I will check. First of all, anyone who's saying this is a very lazy person because they could have just pulled up Google Maps, do a quick Google search. We have the internet. You just do a quick Google search will tell you this stuff. But I will tell you, North Vista Hospital is in North Las Vegas. It's on Lake Mead Boulevard and Civic Center. First of all, that would be putting it at least 3.5, 4 miles more north of UMC.
Yep.
And put about 6 miles more north of Sunrise Hospital. 2 hospitals with major trauma units. North Vista Hospital doesn't even have a major trauma unit. Matter of fact, if you can just look at old video of news videos, when there's shootings in North Las Vegas, they don't take them to North Vista Hospital. They don't do that. Guess where they take them? UMC, because they're a shooting victim. They do that. If it's a minor shooting, maybe they'll take them to North Vista. But if it's like a life-threatening shooting, where their life is, it's a pretty life-threatening situation, automatically over to UMC.
Got to go to trauma. Got to go to trauma center. Big trauma center.
Okay, so whoever made the statement, like I said, you can look on Google Maps. Just look up North Vista Hospital. It's in North Las Vegas. Second hospital, it was called AMG Specialty Hospital. Well, I'll explain what this hospital is. And now I think the hospital, they said that was the one who said that was the drill. Made up the story about the drill. AMG Hospital is not even a regular hospital. It's not even there's no emergency room even there. AMG Hospital is a 24-bed specialty hospital that takes care, which is a long-term care hospital for patients who've had serious surgeries that's going to take a long time to recover from. They go to the recovery.
It's a convalescent hospital. I understand.
Exactly. It's kind of like a rehabilitation hospital type thing, but it's like where you have serious surgery, and before I guess it would be before they send you to a rehabilitation hospital. You go there for treatment.
Not a destination for mortally, critically, gravely injured humans. They
don't even have an emergency room there. Why would you take someone there?
Right.
Third hospital, they said Spring Valley. Well, Spring Valley is in the Southwest Valley. Now you could kind of say that would be closer, but it's not because first of all, Spring Valley doesn't have a trauma unit. It's got an emergency room, yes. but it does not have a trauma unit. Spring Valley's off Rainbow Boulevard in the 215 freeway. Way out in the southwest part of the valley. We're talking even going out towards, they got different communities here in the valley. That'd be Mountain's Edge, Rhodes Ranch, and that's in the far southwest of town.
That's a long trip if you got traffic of any kind.
No, because you think about this. Jump on the 15 freeway from that area is. You go down Tropicana 15 freeway. You go I'll just go through the names. Count the exits. Flamingo, Spring Mountain, Sahara. The fourth exit down from Tropicana is Charleston. And by the way, UMC is right off the 15 freeway. Literally off. I mean, you get off at Charleston, which they call Charleston West Loop. Get right off there. One block over, Rancho in Charleston. You're at UMC. And matter of fact, they even have Valley Hospital behind UMC in case they didn't, if it wasn't a serious emergency, because the way I'd understood is they were also taking the some of the non-life threatenings that they brought over to UMC, and they went over to Valley Hospital, which is two hospitals basically right next to each other. Okay? So, but let me explain. If you were to take them to Spring Valley, you might take some maybe non-injured, some minor injuries, but the thing with Spring Valley is you're talking Rainbow and 215. You're talking way far. You're talking, first of all, okay, let's count the exits again. 15, you'd be going 15 south. You would go down past Russell Road. Then you would take the 215 west freeway, okay? Then you're talking exits. Let me just count the exits. Jones, Decatur. Then go after Decatur now, okay? It's Decatur, then Jones, then at least about another 5, maybe 3.5 miles. Then you hit Rainbow Boulevard. Then you get off at Rainbow Boulevard, and then you got to go another 2 blocks over to Rainbow Boulevard and Russell. That's where it would be. And that's far away. Even if you were to take Russell Road down, you're talking about a good 7-mile haul. It would make no sense. No,
and those are the hospitals, again, that the people are saying prove that there were no injuries. The hospitals are denying it. It's because they weren't used. They weren't fit. They might have taken some sprained ankles there. Who knows? But there were one of them didn't even have an emergency room, all right? You go to the trauma units. I guess there are 2 of the major trauma centers in the city. And UMC is it. And that's it. That's where you go. There was a video out, by the way, I've got it posted, of a trauma team. There must be 10, 12 people there. 2 surgeons and all tech staff, and they're there in their scrubs, and they're in the room, and they were talking about how it was. Even for them, it was difficult. And then there was a snap of a still shot of the trauma center in the middle of all this, and the blood just all the way up and down the floors.
Yeah.
So there you go.
I'll even explain how UMC is even used, Jeff. Now, you've done this when you lived here, even when you were used to live in Southern California. The 15 freeway between Las Vegas and Southern California, Los Angeles. As far as 30 miles to the east, to the north of Barstow. If there's any major car wreck, and they got to do a med flight, they got to do a life flight, they fly them to UMC trauma. From that far down on the 15 freeway.
I believe it.
As far north as Mesquite, up to even almost close to St. George, they'll fly them to UMC.
Wow.
So UMC is a major regional trauma area. It would make sense they would take it. And also, like I said, they even had surgeons and flight surgeons and a couple of surgeons out of Federal Hospital from Nellis, and they had them come into down to UMC. You see, so Dave to help out. It was all hands on deck. Valley-wide doctors called in. They even had residents helping out. This was an all hands on deck type thing. You got to understand there was a lot of people shot, and now people say, well, how come all the bodies? Well, first of all, a lot of the bodies who were DOA or dead on arrival or dead on the scene, okay, stayed on the scene. They didn't leave the scene. Because if you're already passed away, like I said, you do a triage on the scene. They know if you're passed away already, they try to do field, try to resuscitate in the field. And if they can't, they're not going to transport them all the way to a hospital to take up a bed space for someone who is alive and needs the help. You just got to use common sense sometimes.
Right. Okay, that's very well said. We don't have a whole lot of time. We got another half an hour, but I want to get to some other things as well. The idea, let's just take the economics of it first off. If FEMA went to the city fathers of the city of Las Vegas and says, look, we want to do this major drill involving a mass shooting of hundreds of people. We're gonna use a venue, and it's gonna have 22,000 people in it. And yeah, we're gonna scare the holy hell out of them and make them run and stampede, and maybe people might even get trampled to death. But we really need to do this. Do any of you listening think the city of Las Vegas, already in revolving and rotating bankruptcy, even the MGM Resorts Inc., would allow the bad negative publicity of such an enormous event to be pulled off with no prior notification, no less? Are you kidding me? Never in 1,000 years. In fact, Las Vegas would sue the federal government to stop it. They don't want negative publicity. As Gary has explained before, since 2009, the city has been basically in deep trouble. They're running 80-90% less on their average slot machine plays. Look, this is not a joke. This is big business. Business is God in Las Vegas, and God has been mortally wounded. They want this to go away. The lid has come down. Nobody's talking. I've got friends that work in the industry at very, very substantial levels. They tell me nobody's talking about it because they don't want to lose their jobs and because it's bad for business. The city can't take this kind of public relations. Tell us more about the finances, Gary, and why this was a terrorist operation, period.
Well, you explain it perfectly well. You got casinos that are in revolving bankruptcy. Caesars is still in bankruptcy. MGM had already filed second bankruptcy. Station Casinos, which is mainly a local casinos, has been through 3 bankruptcies already. You got Boyd Gaming, which was going to build a place called Echelon Place, where the old Stardust and where the old Stardust property was. That place has been sitting as a skeleton, literally. If you go into town, you go stop over, you stay at Circus. Next door to it on the Strip, which would be the north end of the Strip, okay? Yeah. It's a place they were going to build called Echelon Place. It's been basically a frame sitting there of steel girders, a skeleton. It's been there since 2007. They blew down the Stardust, and that's been sitting there. They can't get the financing. Nobody wants to buy the property. Still there. Boyd just sits on it. Yeah, well, I had heard at one time Boyd might have sold it to a Chinese firm, the Chinese gaming out of Macau, and they decided they didn't have the finances for it. You got a lot of, let's just put it this way, the real estate. Still, 75% of the people in this town are underwater on their houses. Wow. They're upside down. Wow. And the only reason why the foreclosures have been really slowed down, the banks agree with this. Here's what's funny. State legislator in their wisdom did pass laws where it was making it almost impossible to foreclose, basically. Mm-hmm. Work with them through short sale, that type of thing. Mm-hmm. But what happened was the banks fully agreed with it, because of course the banks didn't agree with it. They agree with every state that's willing to do that. Because imagine if the banks had to foreclose on every property of bad loans and debt they're sitting on right now. The banks themselves would collapse. People would lose confidence. If people knew the amount of bad paper these banks are sitting on right now when it comes to foreclosures, it's staggering. And then you got the credit default swaps, the derivatives, and all that stuff. But this town is 75% upside down right now. Wow. Just on houses, just people town, the whole city, more than what they owe. The whole city is on life support, friends. Commercial this is not property. A joke. Yeah. And let's look at the commercial market in this town. You go everywhere. There's there's literally storefronts everywhere you go. I go down the street from my house. You can go in any direction, and there's like strip malls that are just empty. Like literally, some of them are just fenced off where they have never been built. They were built, and literally had
never leased out
anything in it. Never been leased out ever.
Wow.
And you had big stores, a lot of big grocery stores closing down here.
Yeah.
Walmart closing down, Target's closing down. You had Kmart closing down, and there's nothing else going into these buildings to be rented out. Out in North Las Vegas, you used to have a lot of illegal aliens that lived out that way, east side of Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
How the construction, crashed. So that was the other thing you understand too. See, it wasn't just the casino business that crashed. The tourism is one thing that crashed, but what was driving this economy in this town more than the casinos were for a lot of years was the construction. Construction was like sometimes you were building 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 tract homes a week. I mean,
incredible.
Going up so fast.
Yeah, incredible.
This town grew, and within 10 years, you wouldn't believe that. Them days are gone.
Yeah.
They're long gone, and they're not. They used to pull. I don't know how many. They were one time the max. I think they were at peak. I think pulling 3,000 to 4,000 permits a day for houses and commercial.
That's
in this
astonishing.
town.
I had no idea.
And you're lucky you even get that in a year now.
Mm-hmm.
So, it was crazy. You couldn't go down the freeway here without running into one them big dump truck construction trucks moving dirt from and equipment.
Mm-hmm.
As far as I could see, now you're lucky to see here and there. Yeah, they got some road projects going on, and as you know how they're doing that with everywhere. That's called look busy work to make it look like the economy's rocking and rolling.
All true.
That's the government's way to prop up the economy, and that's what they're doing here. But the fact of the matter is, the economy has been in bad shape. They didn't need this. Especially something like this, because it would, again, let's say that scenario, like you said, we're going to do a drill, FEMA prints, we're going to do a drill, and by the way, we're going to make it look real at the end. So you'd be like, what kind of insane people are you? We're not going to do that. It wouldn't make no sense. It'd be crazy. That's crazy talk. They wouldn't allow it. And the casinos,
it's critical to understand and listen to what we were saying about Las Vegas being in trouble and not able to tolerate anything like this, even a drill that looks realistic at the end. And what kind of a drill would allow for the stampeding, absolute, utter, sheer fright of 22,000 people? It's nuts. It's absolutely asinine, beyond belief. Okay, we've spelled out the financial issues, crucial. We've talked about the logistics. Surround sound, that crap, unbelievable. So we've explained, and Gary's the man, he's an audio expert, why the sound was all nice and stable in all the recordings that were analyzed, because they came from cell phones and notebooks and maybe even laptops. And that's what those recording devices do. Okay, now, personnel who live and work there, a lot of people say, well, you can't shut everybody up. Oh, yes, you can. It's real easy to do, especially when people understand that their jobs and their futures, the city's future, is on the line. Real easy to get cooperation. And on top of that, you've got the FBI and apparently DHS going around and talking to all the survivors they can. And remember, they took all of their smartphones, all their notebooks, all their laptops, downloaded everything, scrubbed the drives, and then returned them to the people. That's called evidence tampering, right? Oh, I know that they can do it because they're the big feds. It's still evidence tampering. This is a local jurisdiction event. Now, when they go to someone and tell them, no talking, or you'll be brought up on felony national security endangerment charges. And that's exactly what they do. That's all they have to do is explain to people what national security means, and if you violate your instructions, what will happen to you? Nobody's going to play with that. That's why the information dried up. Remember the woman on video? The next day, she said she went back to collect her. We played this, Gary. She went back to collect her slot machine winnings at Planet Hollywood, $160 or something. And she went up to the cage, and the one person in the cage told the other one, "You're not supposed to talk about that." And he said, well, I didn't talk about it. She did, meaning the client who came up to get her money. They were told that night, nothing happened. Don't talk about it. And I guarantee you they had 100% or 99.5% cooperation. Go ahead, Gary.
Sure. Well, first of all, less than 24 hours after the shooting, Mandalay was open for business. All they did was seal off that part of the 32nd floor. I think it was either the whole 32nd floor or just that wing of the 32nd floor.
Wow.
They opened for business, right? It was back to normal. There is people that will call in the local talk shows here in town. That's the only subject people are still talking about. When they do open lines, the first thing people want to talk about is the shooting. Heard today, not just one guy, like 3 other people called in the same show, and all stated the same thing. They were at Bellagio. The valet parking is where one of the shots went through one of the doors there. They had one of the windows was reported that the door itself was blown out in valet parking, the entrance door into Bellagio. Well, Bellagio denied it, but conveniently that same door that everyone said that was blown out has been under repair for the past 2 weeks now. They barred it off. They're repairing the whole thing. It's like they put bars over it, and they're actually doing repairs on it. Another 3 people who wanted to remain anonymous called in to another talk show. Said they were at Bellagio that night, and after the shooting had started. Now we're not talking. They had said sound of shooting was coming through in the Bellagio. Every table, and I'm talking every card table, even in the high area, which they call the high limit poker areas, every table was cleared out. There was nobody on the floor. They ran. They literally took off. And they said, let's not. First of all, no one ran in and said, "Oh, we've been shot. There's shooting going on." No, they actually heard shots. Another woman, there's a video, and I've been trying to find it online, and it looks like they scrubbed it off. The host himself said he'd seen the video. 4 other people called in the show said they'd seen the video. A woman was eating around that same time at the buffet at Bellagio. Said rounds were whizzing by more than one. Her head. She made a video. Said we could hear the rounds flying over our head and hitting into the walls. Okay. And they all ducked at the buffet. Then there's another video out there, and I don't know if you have it on your site or not. There's like a video out there reported where there's bodies being carried out of Hooters. And
I got the video. Yeah, there were about 15 ambulances lined up there.
Yep.
Some are suggesting those were wounded from the concert venue. I don't know the answer to that.
Sense.
Yeah, it's possible.
That would make sense if it was possible. It might have been, like I said, some mixed in. But I think it was a lot of them because they were a lot. If you remember, a lot of the even the eyewitness testimonies that you had on air, a lot of them went towards Hooters. So that
and they
sense.
said there was an enormous rush of people that came out of Hooters screaming.
Yep.
Now, I'm not sure if bloody people being carried in there would do that. It's a possibility, too. But a couple of shots inside would sure as hell do it. So something caused the people in there to get out.
Now, I don't know if you heard this yet. Now, this host, who's pretty connected in this town, he said this on the air. So he stated that numerous cops have told him the night of the shooting that there was reportings of shootings citywide, not just on the Strip. They said there was reportings of numerous shootings citywide.
I got 10 hotels on my list that were had reported in or near or outside the hotels.
Yep. And they were saying citywide, though, he said, because we're talking even out in the suburb areas. That's what he was. His understanding was from the Metro cops he was talking to off record. Of course, they're not going to speak on record because they want to keep their career. And they said it was a citywide reports of shots in numerous areas of the city.
Very
That's
interesting.
what was said. Which would, again, like I said, if you want to thin, like I said, my opinion, like I said, it's my opinion. The goal always was that big crowd, because that's where the easiest people to shoot. And if you have a big crowd, that's where we're going to lay into. But what I also I've been saying, and I say this, even if a couple of people did get shot in these casinos and other areas of town, they needed to spread the police force out. They had to, because that would, you know, you don't want to have, you want to take any type of return fire or any adversarial, you don't want to have as much adversarial people,
Got it.
combatant
Sure.
as you want. You want to thin them out. You want to thin the force out, and that's what you're going to do. You're going to split them up. You're going to split them up 10 different ways, answering calls in North Las Vegas, answering calls in Summerlin. You're going down there towards Henderson. You're going to go down to, Anthem, all these different areas of town here.
Right.
And you're going to spread as many people out, and you're going to have numerous shootings. And then, of course, on the Strip, which makes sense.
Uh-huh. Gary, what's your guess on all these other shootings? Was this the gang that couldn't shoot straight? Or were they really not out to kill people as much as just shoot places up to sow fright, fear, and, as you said, to thin the cops out?
Exactly. I think it was designed for one particular thing in mind, get frightened and fear the people, because also you got people fear running in 10 different directions, chaos, but also it does, it just diverts and it's a big misdirection, and it spreads people and it spreads them out, and then they just can't respond to the actual scene with full force.
Of course not.
And it just spreads out, and then you're undermanned. You're undermanned and undergunned. Right. And you're trying to respond to all these different casinos, and understand they're not going to have, if there's a shooting going on at Bellagio, they're not going to just have one squad car show up. They're going to have multiple squad cars.
Absolutely.
You understand? The Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department has 3,000 officers, and think about this. Like I said, this radio host, I don't know if he's telling the truth or not, but he said it over the air. He said, look, I've been talking to different cops have been telling me that it was a citywide alert. Shootings were going on citywide. It wasn't strip-wide. He said citywide. And what citywide means to me, we're talking all around town, all over the valley. And so, you're talking a lot of, you have 3,000 Metro cops. I don't know how many cops there is in Henderson, but you have Henderson basically the way you have Metropolitan Sheriff's Department here. You got Henderson, you got some state police, which is a very small force, Henderson police, and North Las Vegas police. Boulder City police would never even respond because their police force is maybe 5. There isn't that many in Boulder City, so Boulder City wouldn't have the manpower to respond here at all.
Yeah. My sense is I would tend to go along with that host and suggest that he's probably correct and these cops aren't lying. This was a big operation, and when you have a community of 10,000 Muslims, it is quite within the realm of possibility that shooters were brought in, they were taken care of, simple, and they melted into the community, or they were extracted and flown out of there. We don't know. But these people, you got to remember the difference between what's the difference between a moderate Muslim and a radical Muslim? The moderate Muslim holds you down, and the radical kills you.
Yeah.
All right.
That's
so
true.
The point is that they're Confederates for outside Muslim shooters that come in there. They got no problem getting any support they want, up and down elevators, whatever. It's just not a problem. Okay, I got two. Go ahead.
And think about this. This is the same ISIS, by the way, where you see that picture where the U.S. military were escorting them through Iraq and Syria.
Yeah.
For anyone to believe that ISIS are independent and they're not an asset,
oh man,
come on, you just don't. You don't.
No, you're not in the real world. Okay, I got two quickies. We may not get to both. Campos, Ellen, any fallout? Nobody bought it, by the way, that I know of. I've seen nothing. No. Not
even here in town. They don't believe it. I just scan talk radio here. I want not national. I listen to local. I want to, because that's where they let locals call in.
Sure.
And no one's buying that story. They're mad, angry, mad about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they should be.
And there's a couple of hosts brought up the same fact that they all connected the dots. She has her Ellen machines over at MGM. And there's also been rumors that it's unproven rumors. I just want to let everyone know it's unproven. But there's also been rumors, which are just they are rumors, that she's also has a large stock holding,
right.
large stock holdings in MGM International, which was, I guess, would have been part of the promotional and having her machines with IGT and stuff like that. That would reason why she'd probably get some stock options in the company.
You bet.
So there's that, and then, but no one believes the story. I don't even discuss the story anymore. So it's so ridiculous. It's not even know to even talk about the story.
It may not have been the same guy. Look, he's 30, 40 pounds heavier. We found out the background and the pictures were wrong. All right. Anyway, we'll probably never hear or see of Jesus Campos again. It was fine by me. Now, last quick question. As a Marine who suffered injuries and wounds in the tour of duty in Africa and in the Middle East, you saw it all. How many, at this point in your mind, how many teams of 2 shooters in the hotel, and what were the ground assets? What do you think?
Okay. Ground assets, again, at the actual concert venue, I would say, like I said, 2 teams of 2 to 3 men would be like 2 teams on the ground, the actual ground shooters. That's the primary. And then you'd have some guys up, like I said, coming from either 3rd, 4th, or 5th floors to do, some ground shooting too, but mainly to cover the actual ground shooters from encounters from, would be what I would, in battle, you'd say foreign enemy, okay, or a foreign combatant, but in this case, it would be, to them, you are a foreign combatant, so I'll use their terminology. So they wouldn't encounter to them as a foreign combatant. They have, like I said, about 2 to 3 men, 2 teams of 2 to 3 men on the ground. Maybe a sniper, a couple of, machine gunmen, which that's where you get the M60 sound from. Yeah. And you'd have a couple of machine gunmen to provide cover. By now hearing these stories about the Citywide, I would say you would have even up to 5 secondary teams just to provide like misdirection.
Maybe on the east side. A couple on the east side for sure, shooting back into the crowd. A couple
teams up and down the strip doing these going in and out of casinos, driving in and out of casinos. And then you do have a couple of teams running around town, like up towards Summerlin. Maybe, some just to shoot up in the air in a crowded area.
So easy to do. So easy to do.
Up in Boca Park, wherever they are. You've got to respond. And any shots fired, I'm going to tell you, Metro responds with at least 3 to 5 squad cars. And you got to understand, so they're not going to take the whole police force all at once to respond to one area. You still have to have, you can't pull regular patrols off from their areas of town to go respond. Only extra police would be able to respond to that stuff anyway, because you still have, you have a lot of precincts here in town.
Good point.
And, and so you can't take someone who's out in the northwest precinct, right? I'm northwest part of town, and take them off their regular beat or their, in their patrol beats.
Sure.
And because you can't do that, you still need someone to patrol the rest of the city. See, so, these guys are spread thin. I mean, they were seriously spread thin. Right. And you got Las Vegas, matter of fact, North Las Vegas fire and paramedics now, that city's basically bankrupt. They've had so many layoffs in their fire fire and rescue. It's like they're down to a skeleton force. Actually, I think part of North Las Vegas is even handled by Clark County now. It's actually the biggest fire department in this valley isn't Las Vegas City. It's actually Clark County Fire. Because you have to understand, Las Vegas City itself is a good sized city, but the largest portion of the Las Vegas Valley is actually Clark County. That's who handles most of the strip is actually the City of Paradise. Nobody knows what the City of Paradise is. City of Paradise is as weekly big in population as the City of Las Vegas, but the City of Paradise is not considered a city because it's part of unincorporated.
It's
Clark
an unincorporated. County. I got it. So North is really in trouble, huh? Oh, not a
North
surprise.
Las Vegas has been having. Oh man, they were going to have a company called Faraday come in, a electric car company. That deal went bust.
Yeah, they've always
North Las Vegas has had the worst
trouble
of it all.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah, North Las Vegas has been really bad off.
All right.
They've been bad off for years.
Okay, Gary, we're out of time. I think we covered a lot of ground. Thank you again for everything you've contributed. Sure. It's been just terrific. All right, we'll talk soon. Gary Holland, thank you.
You have a good evening, Jeff. Thank you.
All right, there you go. There's your update, and I mean update. Do check the live fire videos at the top of the homepage. First one I just put up, 10-minute video of live fire, and you can hear 2 clear ricochets off the concrete at 301 and 302. Listen carefully. They are there. Second video, short live fire video. It's about 20 seconds long. Shows that famous group of stoners. Shows them jump as a bullet strikes the concrete right next to them. It's at 0:12 seconds to 0:14 seconds. So you can watch those. Just get your mouse ready to stop and start, and you'll see. All right? We'll be right back.